Hey YouTube friends, this video is sponsored by Best Fiends. So let me tell you about this game. I've been playing Best Fiends for the last 2 weeks and it's a pretty cool game. I mean, Best Fiends Forever is actually the second game in the Best Fiends trilogy. It has the same characters and story, but it's a totally different kind of game. This is an addictive clicker adventure game where you slap, collect, and level up pretty much everything in the game while trying to get as far as you can, as fast as you can. Now during the game you get all sorts of power-ups and special moves that you can use to either help you get even more coins or to power you past some of the really hard bosses at the end of the levels. It's a great way to pass the time when you have a few minutes to spare here and there. And there are also rewards for letting your fiends collect coins for you while you take a break from the game. But if you want to advance past the levels, you have to actually be playing the game. Now, some of my favorite things in the game are when you level up your original fiends and when they hit level 100, they get a 1000 time modifier to their damage. The other thing I like is upgrading their special moves. But anyway guys, you should really check this new game out. I mean, it's free and you can download it from the link down below. So let me know how far you get in the game and let me know which fiend's special move is your favorite. Me personally, mine is the auto slapper. Hey YouTube friends, my name is Prince and I am an urban acolyte. And in this video, I want to address the growing opinion that Star Wars Rebels is becoming even more gray this season. And I want to take up the question of whether or not Ezra Bridger will eventually become a Gray Jedi. First, let's look at why people feel that this season is becoming even more gray. So in season 1, we were first introduced to Kanan, Ezra, and the rest of the Ghost crew. We learned that not only were there other Jedi who survived Order 66, but there were also children of the Force being hunted down by the Empire's Inquisitors to either join the Empire or be eliminated. We later learned that the Ghost crew and other rebel cells were all receiving intel from Fulcrum agents, with the first Fulcrum agent having been Ahsoka Tano. We moved into season 2 and things became a bit more difficult for the rebels. After Kanan managed to defeat the Grand Inquisitor above Mustafar, Darth Vader personally dealt the rebels a serious blow, and 2 new Inquisitors appeared to hunt down both Ezra and Kanan. By the end of season 2, there were a number of questions. Ahsoka Tano appeared to face her end at the hands of Darth Vader on Malachor. Kanan was blinded by Maul as Maul attempted to claim Ezra as his own apprentice, and Ezra was last seen opening an ancient Sith holocron from that temple at Malachor. Now on the plus side, it appeared that we'd seen the last of the Inquisitors, and Phoenix Squadron secured their base on Atollon to grow their fleet of ships. Now when we pick up with season 3, about 6 months have passed since the events at Malachor. Kanan attempted to shut himself off from the Force as he used his blindness as a crutch, and that drove a wedge between Kanan and everyone else. I mean, it drove a wedge between master and apprentice. Ezra had grown older both physically and in the Force. Because Kanan was not around to give Ezra guidance, well, Ezra turned to that Sith holocron and he learned new powers and abilities that some may consider unnatural. It's not really the kinds of things that a Jedi would do in certain situations. Now, even though there are questions regarding whether or not both the holocron from Malachor and Kanan's holocron were destroyed when Maul forced Ezra to merge the two together, what we know is that Ezra has learned things from that holocron. He's learned all about the dark side and the Sith. And if the holocron has not been destroyed, then there's the potential for Ezra to learn more from it. And remember what the Bendu said, once a secret is learned, it can't be unlearned. Now we also have to take into consideration the statements made from Sam Witwer, who voices Maul, in that Maul sees Ezra as his apprentice. And although Maul is no longer a Sith, he's interested in turning Ezra. And this presents something interesting because we don't really know what Maul is. Maul was trained as a Sith, and he was to be the apprentice to Darth Sidious prior to his, well, shall we say it, accident on Naboo, along with Sidious becoming aware with the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker, not long after the apparent demise of Maul. And Maul was also the son of Mother Talzin. He was the son of not only the clan mother of the Night Sisters and brothers on Dathomir, but Mother Talzin was arguably the most powerful shaman on Dathomir. Unlike the other Night Brothers, Maul was taught to channel the Force through his Sith training, and we now have reason to believe that, well, Maul has become a shaman in his tradition. Something that was previously barred to the males on Dathomir, as only women received the honor of becoming a shaman in their tradition. So I mention all of this because this is Maul's background. It's his heritage. Once he was a Sith, now a possible shaman and sole survivor of the shaman from Dathomir. And could this be what Maul wants to pass on to Ezra? And as for Ezra, he has the possibility of receiving Jedi training, Sith training, and possibly an introduction into the shaman practices from Dathomir when we see the green mist in a coming episode this season in Star Wars Rebels. Now, something to consider. The only other Jedi exposed to the green mist was Quinlan Vos, and he made a brief turn to the dark side after Ventress took him to Dathomir. Now, of course, Count Dooku was responsible for Vos's turn, but the green mist does have connections to the dark side, specifically to the son of Mortis. And I'll talk about this more in my Night Sister Magic video that it's going to come out around the time we see the green mist on Star Wars Rebels. But my point is that I think this could nudge Ezra back towards the dark side. And recall that we saw an entity in the mist in a clip. We saw a shot of Kanan attacking Sabine and Ezra, and we saw Kanan dueling with Maul. Now there's a rumor floating around that Ezra and Maul will eventually duel each other, and I have to wonder, if Ezra and Maul actually have a confrontation, could this event be the catalyst for what makes them become real adversaries? I mean, maybe Ezra starts to see things from Maul's perspective for a short time before reaching some conclusion that, well, Maul is bad for the galaxy and he needs to be taken out. And now I'm putting all of this forward because there's this question about Ezra becoming a Gray Jedi. I mean, Ezra's getting exposed to all this stuff. Sith knowledge, the green mist. Well, will he become a Gray Jedi? So here's the thing. The term Gray Jedi technically doesn't exist in canon. When Pablo Hidalgo was asked on Twitter back in June about Gray Jedi, he feigned ignorance of the term. And when we look at this term, Gray Jedi, in the extended universe or in Legends, we really don't have a clear definition of what it is to be a Gray Jedi. We only know what a Gray Jedi isn't. So someone like Quinlan Vos. Vos was exposed to the green mist, I said it earlier, fell in love with Ventress, and fell to the dark side when Dooku tortured him until he turned. Later, Dooku killed Ventress, and her death caused Vos to completely renounce the dark side and turn back to the light. Now I'm using Vos as an example because we know that a Jedi who turns to the dark side and returns to the light is technically not a Gray Jedi. In many uses of the term, a Gray Jedi is a Force user who uses both dark and light sides of the Force, but never becomes corrupted by the dark side. Now the problem is when we have people like Qui-Gon Jinn. I mean, Qui-Gon was considered gray, but that was only because he had no problem going against the orders of the Jedi Council, and this was mostly due to philosophical differences. Qui-Gon was deeply committed to understanding the living Force, and we learned that his philosophical differences led him to being contacted by the Force priestesses, or the Wills, who taught him to preserve one's consciousness beyond death. So without Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan and Yoda would not have been able to become Force ghosts. And I guess Anakin too, since we're going to throw him in there. But anyway, what is a Gray Jedi? Groups like the Jinsari, the Vos, and Jedi like Jolee Bindo and Qui-Gon Jinn are not the same. So this term Gray Jedi has basically become a bit of a blanket term for anyone who isn't a Jedi, a Dark Jedi, or a Sith. So at this point, we've got an interesting situation. I mean, we have two Jedi, Ezra and Kanan, and we're about 2 or 3 years before the events in A New Hope. And when Yoda speaks with Luke before his death in Return of the Jedi, he tells Luke that, well, they are the last of the Jedi. And if Ezra and Kanan both managed to survive the events leading up to the destruction of the first Death Star, and they lived through this galactic civil war, well then where are they? And what are they doing? Could they become the first official Gray Jedi in canon? Does Ezra fall to the dark side, or does he become something else after being exposed to the green mist, the Bendu, and the knowledge that he's learned from his Sith holocron? But what do you all think? What are your predictions for Ezra's fate in Star Wars Rebels? And do you think that he'll live through the official rebellion in episodes 4 through 6? I mean, there's some people out there who think Ezra will either live on to Father Rey or start the Knights of Ren. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. I'm going to keep notes of your ideas and your predictions so we can continue to speculate as the story progresses on Star Wars Rebels. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button so that you can take your first steps towards becoming an Urban Acolyte. Make sure to check out my other videos on Star Wars Rebels if you haven't seen them already. And make sure to check back for my reviews of the Imperial Super Commandos and Iron Squadron episodes of Star Wars Rebels. Those should post sometime tomorrow. Well, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the Force be with you. Always.